What up, YouTube? In this video I want to talk about a certain type of behavior that you shouldn't do, and then towards the end of the video I'm going to discuss why you don't want to do that. And it's extremely important to understand the why. And so let's get into it. So one thing is, when you're chatting with women or dating women, you want to allow them essentially to have their own internal experience, and you can't be taking that away from them. And I'll explain what I mean. Like, a lot of people might call it a sense of mystery, but I'm gonna describe it like this. So like, you don't want to be trying too hard to prove to a woman that you're all these good things, and because you end up predictable, and so what you don't want to do is you're always trying to prove how caring you are, how helpful you are for her, how much of a gentleman you are, how much you're attracted to her, and you're doing this to an extent that you're making yourself so predictable that there's not really much mystery. Like, sometimes you gotta be more subtle, or don't do things as much. You know what I'm saying? You don't always want to say good morning. Maybe sometimes don't. You don't always need to just always compliment everything she does in some positive way. Oh, you're great, you do good. It ends up feeling very flat, right? And the reason why, I want to say that you want to allow them to have their own internal experience. So what can happen is that they can walk off or they can be by themselves and wonder about what you would say in any given situation, because they don't exactly know, they don't exactly have you pinned down, or maybe they want to hear you say something positive, and sometimes you say it and sometimes you don't, right? And this is kind of it, how kind of it's kind of like fan fiction. Fan fiction, people will take movies and then they'll write their own stories using the characters or whatever, or they'll take a famous book and write their own stories using those same characters. It's because that character, there's still a level of mystery where you can write stories about them and it's exciting, right? But when someone becomes so predictable, you already know what they're going to do. If they're always positive, they're always going to be positive around you, and it becomes almost boring, right? So that's why you don't necessarily have to always be easygoing, especially people who are just naturally easygoing. You don't have to try that hard, because you're already an easygoing person. So you're just by you being you, you're gonna make the woman feel cared for. You know what I'm saying? Like, most likely, and you have to leave a little bit of unpredictability. And the reason, I did a lot of digging deep in myself, and I came to this conclusion that the reason why this is that in childhood, at least this is my theory, in childhood we all discover inadequacy, right, in ourselves, right? This is from the earliest moments. Like, society is built this way. One of our first, I don't want to call it addictions, but it's almost like our lows and highs emotionally is when we enter school, right? The teacher gives us a test, our anxiety spikes, and then if we do well on the test, our anxiety goes down, right? So from the very moment we are born into society, we are how to explain it tuned to be addicted to anxiety and then reward, right? And then that anxiety releases. Where it literally is literally part of human nature. Anxiety drives us. Hunger drives us. You get hungry, you eat. You get anxious, you improve. Like we constantly are being. That's literally who we are, and we have this sense of, how do I say it? I just used the word. Now I'm forgetting. Inadequacy. We all have a sense of inadequacy from childhood. For example, maybe you were bullied, or maybe you weren't as tall, or maybe you weren't as good at sports. It could have been anything. But what happens is that we sit around and we fantasize about actually being good at that thing, or actually being adequate. And then when we get better at it, it gives us a large sense of reward. But if you are just good at something from the start, there would be no sense of reward for getting better at it, right? So this is why, if you're predictable, you always just compliment the woman, you always just make her feel good, you always just do all that. Essentially what's happening is you're solving her feeling of inadequacy. You're solving it by filling them up with positivity, and then they can't feel a sense of reward anymore. They don't feel any high from the relationship with you because you solved their childhood issues. See, I realize this, people don't want their issues solved. They don't want their childhood inadequacies solved. They don't. They want you to slightly solve it so that they get a hit of dopamine, but the inadequacy stays there, so that there can be another hit of dopamine later when you reward them, right? Nobody wants their problems to actually be solved. Think about it like this. Let's say you had a slot machine, right? And you pull it once and you get $1 million. The first time you pull it, you're gonna be hyped. Let's say you do it again, you pull it again, gives you another $1 million, you're gonna be hyped. But once you hit that thing 1,000 times and it keeps giving you money, $1 million, you're gonna get bored. You might keep hitting it, and you're gonna get bored, right? Because that slot machine solved your problem. It solved your financial issue, and now you're bored, right? So this is why you don't want to solve somebody's sense of inadequacy. It doesn't work. This is why people are bored. This is why women get bored, and why anybody gets bored in life, because essentially they get bored if you solve all their problems. I mean, maybe they want certain problems solved, like they want you to reduce some anxiety in their life, but they don't want you to fully solve their sense of inadequacy. And I think that's why drinking a non-alcoholic beer. I actually like these. Pretty good. This is why you don't want to fully solve someone's inadequacy. And there's nothing wrong with complimenting this, that, and the third, but don't feel responsible for solving their problem, because they don't want you to do that. They literally don't want it, because then they'd have nothing else to focus on, or because their dopamine, their hits of dopamine they get are based off of that sense of inadequacy. Like, this is why, men will nag women, like saying negative things to them, like teasing them. Oh, that outfit doesn't match, and then 5 minutes later they'll give them a compliment. Oh, I really like your new hairstyle. And I'm not a fan of doing this. I think it's gimmicky and it can be manipulative. But there's a reason why. What they're essentially doing is they're making the woman feel inadequate, and then the compliment is what gives them a giant hit of dopamine, because there has to be a difference in order for someone to feel something, there has to be a difference in between their sense of inadequacy and the compliment, right? If someone already feels good, then your compliment doesn't really land. It doesn't really help. So there's nothing wrong with being helpful or positive. We're supposed to do that, but you need to know when to ease off. You need to know when it's time to take a break from texting the woman and just do your own thing. Go and focus on yourself, right? Let her watch you go and focus on yourself and not check your phone, not text her back for a little bit, because she needs to feel inadequate, because that's normal. See, feeling inadequate, not good enough, or feeling like you're missing something is the normal human experience, and people don't like when it goes away.